So by far and wide, I think one of the more disappointing teams of this NBA season has been the Chicago Bulls, with at the time of making this video, them actually having a pretty average 7-10 record. Again, the Chicago Bulls were a team that I think a lot of people really hyped up coming into this season to maybe be a 5th seed or a 6th seed. But again, at the time of making this video, it does look like they will probably just barely sneak in to being a play-in team. Again, I expect the Pacers to eventually drop, especially when I think that Miles Turner and Hield trade to the Lakers eventually gets done. I mean, the Knicks are just mediocre at best, and they're going to be trading a bunch of players away at the deadline. I think there's a chance for this Bulls team to potentially get, of course, to the play-in, but there are a lot of changes they need to make. And of course, one would be, I think, finding a reliable enough point guard, especially considering it looks like Lonzo Ball just doesn't look like he is really going to play for a long time. Again, before the season even started, there were reports saying that his knee was just absolutely dead, and it basically had a lot of issues with it. And I even saw one report say that he was struggling to walk, let alone jog, and might actually struggle to play NBA again. And that's just absolutely horrific news. You never want to hear something like that, especially considering in the games Lonzo played last season with the Chicago Bulls, they were one of the best teams in the East. Again, it looks like the Bulls are already trying to address some of these issues and have already shown interest in a player or two. One of them actually being Duncan Robinson, which is really weird to me. I don't know why they aren't necessarily interested in Duncan Robinson. I don't think it's necessarily the best move, but I'm not going to say it is the worst move as well. Again, it is being reported by Thomas Darrow that the Bulls are interested in potentially trading for Duncan Robinson. Again, there were reports actually saying that the Miami Heat would be willing to throw in a first-round pick. Yes, a first-round pick to try and dump his contract and bring in some depth through the trade. Again, this is a really interesting one, considering I'm pretty sure the Heat only have 2 first-round picks. It's really weird because the Heat are also in an absolute rut this season with a 7-11 record. They've had a ton of injuries to players like Jimmy Butler, but not just that, players like Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry have just been proven to be some of the worst contracts, I think, in the NBA. But if you're the Chicago Bulls, I think the 2 biggest needs they have is, of course, finding a defensive point guard and a power forward that can defend the perimeter, but also shoot. Again, I think they thought Patrick Williams was going to be that guy, but he just really has not fit in with the team that well and has struggled to find shots at time. The best thing is, though, he is only 21 years old. Patrick Williams is one of the youngest players still in the NBA and has a lot of room to explore. I don't see why people are giving up on him. Again, he's still shooting 42% this season, which is pretty good, averaging 9.5 points per game, 4 rebounds in 25.5 minutes. It's just his defense can be very inconsistent sometimes. Again, that's the reason he hasn't been getting the 30 minutes, I think, per game as well. The Bulls also really like to go small at times with having players like, Dosunmu, Dragic, and White, and Green really on the court at the same time. They've even got Alex Caruso there. They've got so many of these guards that are decent defenders, but need to be guarding the point guard and shooting guard position. But at times you see dudes like Alex Caruso and Kobe White having to play that small forward, and it's just not good for this team. So I do think something they could address is maybe bringing in I think a more wing player. I do like Duncan Robinson, who's going to be set to play more of the small forward position. A dude who's actually going to line up, when it comes to the height. I definitely feel like this is actually a really interesting thing that they could low-key do. Again, I'm not exactly too sure, though, how they are going to match up contracts and do all this stuff, because it's absolutely ridiculous. The fact that we know that Duncan Robinson is on a huge contract of about $16 million per season that eventually goes up to $20 million. Again, if we're going to actually look at it, the only players they could really try and match the salary with could be, of course, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Kobe White, and that's about it. Those are the 3 players who are, you know, on about $8 million or so. So again, it does make some sense, I think, to potentially look at something like this. Again, matching up contracts is going to be a difficult task, but I do think Duncan Robinson, he could be a good option, but I'm still not too sure why they're actively exploring him. I feel like there are much better players they could be trying to get. To fully get Duncan Robinson, you would have to trade Caruso and White just to match up contracts, and I really don't like that. Again, I know both of them haven't really found their role on this team and haven't exactly been that good, but it still doesn't make any sense to me to trade 2 players that aren't necessarily fitting in to bring in a bad contract player anyway, who's not going to start for starters and might not fit in. Again, you could always, you know, look at that, but yeah, is the first round pick worthy of that? Like, you could say, we'll get rid of Kobe White and we'll get rid of Alex Caruso, but both of those players can still be solid, and all you're bringing back in is Duncan Robinson and a first round pick. That doesn't make any sense to me. Duncan Robinson's contract is not recoverable. I think if the Heat are going to try and dump Duncan Robinson's contract, it's got to be to a team like the Houston Rockets or San Antonio Spurs, who aren't going to be contending for a couple years or so. So again, I'd look at trading him to them. I think if you're the Chicago Bulls, I do still think Kobe White needs to be traded. Obviously, like, if you traded Kobe White for a forward on the same contract as him that plays pretty decent, I think this team would be a whole lot better. It's way too guard heavy, having Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Kobe White, Goran Dragic, Javonte Green there as well, Dosunmu. There's like 7 or 8 guards on this team. It's just ridiculous. They definitely need to trade for a forward or 2, and I'm not sure who they're going to try and get, but I just think it makes a lot more sense to, you know, look at maybe a more 3-and-D type of forward rather than going for a shooter like Duncan Robinson, who's not only on a bad contract, but I don't necessarily think fits the team needs. If this team was to bring Lonzo Ball back, get a legit healthy Lonzo Ball in free agency, normally just back from injury, and then of course move on Kobe White for like a Jay Crowder type of player, this team goes from a 7-10 record to possibly the opposite, which would be a 10-7 or an 11-6, in my opinion. I would think Jay Crowder would be absolutely perfect for this team. He desperately wants to start. Reasons of why he didn't, why he actually sat out for the Phoenix Suns. And I think Lonzo Ball, again, he brings the playmaking and defense, which this team desperately needs. Like, their biggest playmaker, I think, is like DeMar, and he's having 4 assists per game. It's not his role. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But again, hopefully for them, he comes back healthy, and then I think they move on a player like Kobe White for Jay Crowder, and I think that just makes a whole lot more sense for the team. And then realistically, you're looking at something much better than what they've got right now. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you guys think the Chicago Bulls should be looking for a player like Duncan Robinson, or should they go after someone different? Of course, I would definitely really like to know. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my, gaming channel and my IRL/long channel. I've been uploading a ton of content on there, so I would highly appreciate it if you guys, of course, did go and check them out. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.